Howdy, howdy, everyone. My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Stranger Days. Coming to you today. I don't even know what day it is right now. It's the 12th of February, 2019. My area just got done getting hit with a massive snow apocalypse. Thanks a lot, Polar Vortex. You bastard, you son of a bitch. Basically, what happened is the entire area of Western Washington was blanketed under multiple feet of snow. And if you live in the Midwest or anywhere that gets snow on a frequent basis, obviously right now you're saying to yourself, Matt, the hell, this is nothing. Quit being a pussy. Deal with it. Which you're absolutely right. I need to deal with it. And I did by shoveling multiple feet of snow out of my damn driveway multiple times, only to have the snowplow the city provided come by and completely destroy all the work I did. So I've been stuck at home for the past 4 days, and power has been intermittent, but it's now finally done. It's finally over with. It's finally moving on. And I'm happy. I'm happy that it's moving away. I'm happy that it's leaving. I'm happy that it's going. Fuck snow. Fuck everything about snow. Snow can suck my dick. I now understand when people move to Arizona during the winter, because goddamn, here's it. It wouldn't be so bad. It wouldn't be so bad if the power didn't go out, if the internet didn't go down. My job is all online, right? So when the internet goes down, I'm boned. I'm screwed. And if I can't go anywhere, like to go record something here, put it on a thumb drive, take it over on my laptop to a Starbucks and upload there, I'm fucked. I'm completely fucked. And that's okay. That's okay. You know what? It's one of those situations that happens when you literally live in the goddamn forest. I expected, my neighbors would be out hunting and foraging because the power was gone. But no, they're all rich people that all have generators and like to flaunt it like bastards. But that being said, it taught me a valuable lesson. Invest in a generator. And also thicker socks. Goddamn thicker socks. But then again, those of you guys who live in the Northwest or anywhere else, the Midwest or the East Coast that get frequent snow, you're just laughing at me right now. That's okay. So again, you might be asking yourself, what's going on with the longer form podcast? Didn't you try this a few weeks ago? I did. I'm bringing it back as a tester to see how it works out for a couple days. And we're going to be covering some crazy stories. I'd like to do this ultimately live. I need to find the right time of day to do it, mostly because my schedule with my daughter is entirely up in the air, and I work when I can, which is why the YouTube Premiere system is amazing. I know not everybody likes it. You want to get the one-on-one talking. You want to get the one-on-one chatting. You want to be able to sit there and interact, maybe not with me, but whoever exactly is streaming at that moment in time that you're watching, and I get that, which is why I have the email set up, which is why you can email us directly at strangerdayspodcast@gmail.com. There's also a phone number, which will be on screen right now, too. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I have a voicemail line that you guys can, in fact, call in on, and that's going to be perfectly fine for you guys to do. And so the idea here is ultimately like it was before, to go through about 4 or 5 stories, talk about some crazy shit going on. I want to actually put more of my attention on weirder stories. I want to put more of my attention on things that may not be talked about in this particular sphere of YouTube. And the predominant reason for that is I look around and it's just like, I don't know. I'm kind of tired of the drama. And there's been a lot of drama. There's been a lot of drama for a long period of time. A lot of people are always looking for that next kick. And it's like, man, that ain't me. It's just not me anymore. There was a time where, yeah, totally, I dove into the drama a long time ago. But then I became a lot more moderate of a person and a lot more easygoing and a lot more laid back. And I gotta keep on that path, man. So distancing myself from all that stuff is going to be good. But that being said, this show will contain stories that are kind of what the fuck news. It will contain some interesting tidbits about gaming, if I find it to be fascinating. Some culture war stuff. And it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a mixed bag because that's where my interests are. That's where my interests lie. And of course, if you don't get a chance to watch this when it premieres, or you don't check it out after the fact, the video clips will be chopped up and they will be put online. But I do hope that that we get, you know, that this keeps going, because by doing it now, where I don't have to be on camera, I don't have to be in front of people like that, I get to be more free, and that's how I view it. That's why I think I always kind of struggled with it, is always going back and forth between the camera. I've just opted out of that for right now. There's also some computer tech, some tech reasons for that happening too, which I'm hoping to get that worked on here at some point in the future. But that's kind of where we are. This is more going to just being more of a radio show, and that mindset. I'm not even going to be showing a lot of the articles on the screen. So this is pretty much just kind of pop in your earbuds and listen and enjoy. And I hope you enjoy. And I do want to get feedback. I do want to see what you guys are going to be saying about this. So I thought it would be fun to talk about an old story. And I mean an old story that I covered multiple times several years ago. And that is the Mars 1 mission. Now, if you don't remember the Mars 1 mission, I don't blame you. But basically, it offered a one-way trip to Mars. That's what it did. It offered a one-way trip to Mars. They were going to repopulate Mars. And they asked people to sign up and pay, like, I think it was like $35 sign-up fee or something. It was a weird sign-up fee. But they've now declared themselves to be bankrupt. That's right. They've declared themselves to be bankrupt. We all knew this was probably going to happen. I liked the concept back in the day. I still like the concept of crowdfunding GTFO off of the planet Earth, you know. But apparently 200,000 people had applied overall, and they weren't able to make the money they needed to get the first rocket, because the first rocket was going to have, like, I believe it was 40 people. They were choosing 240 total out of the 200,000 applicants. It was going to be a one-way trip. They were going to 3D print everything. They were going to make that their reality, and it just fell through. It says here that they are officially dissolving the Mars 1 venture, because it was made in Swiss court, saying, "We are currently working with the administrator and investor to find a solution moving forward. At this moment, this is all we can share. The bankruptcy," because that's what happened, affects the company's commercial arm, Mars 1 Ventures AG, but does not affect the nonprofit Mars 1 Foundation. Okay, so the nonprofit hasn't been touched. That's good. That's good. That's grand. That's awesome. They're totally able to do that. They're totally able to come back from that. They're totally able to continue on making a profit off of people who want to pay them the money to prep to leave planet Earth, because that's, you know, that's good. That's grand. That's great. This is one of the things where I look at a story like this, and even back then I might have been so optimistic about it, because I love the concept of leaving Earth and going to Mars, and the way that this particular process was going to happen. And this is like 6 years ago now, by the way, is when they started seeking applications in 2013, and they were going to launch a total of 24 people in groups of 4 every 2 years, starting in 2024. So, okay, I was wrong. Originally, it was slated at 40 people. Then they dropped it to 24, I guess. And each of the trips, each of the travels to Mars, the one-way travels to Mars, was going to be $6 billion. Now, keep in mind, they were charging people like $35 or something like that to apply, and 200,000 people did that. So that's a fair amount of money. That's a fair amount of money that they earned in order to figure out this colonization process. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to be able to use existing technology, which in 2013, they thought, you know, again, 3D printing was coming into play, solar paneling was coming into play. And by the time they were getting ready to go, by the time they were getting ready to leave, by the time they were getting ready to go and colonize another planet, that they would have enough technology to be able to start crafting bases and everything else on the other planet. And that was their desire. That was their plan. That was their goal. That's what they intended to do. And it ultimately just failed. But then again, even in 2013, it was basically dawned as a failure. But they kept going for another 5 years until they ultimately had to file for bankruptcy. But the nonprofit remains. I find that to be interesting. The nonprofit is still there. That's funny. That's pretty funny. But here's how they were going to pay for it, because this is actually something I didn't know. I thought they were going to like crowdfund it. You know, people like crowdfund $6 billion, like get the hell off Earth. I kind of figured it was going to be something done through, let's say, religious organizations. And I still kind of stand by that, to be honest with you. One of my tinfoil hat theories is that like when there's going to be a cult at some point in time that's going to be able to become popular enough to sit there and say the earth is doomed, the earth is over, we need to leave because, you know, localized space travel is now not being regulated by the government. You know, opening it up for like for like SpaceX and Virgin Space, whatever the hell it is that Richard Branson's doing, that some cult was going to sit there and raise the money, and it was going to then send people to another planet like Mars in order to colonize it. Kind of like the Pilgrims leaving the Church of England in the 1600s to travel to the New World. Like it was going to be the new pilgrimage. And of course, I think at the time I argued that it might have been probably Muslims that would be doing it. That just feels like more accurate and anything else. Because, you know, if you look at like Saudi Arabia, they need money. They've got money. They could easily fund this sort of thing. But they were going to do this. They were going to make the money through selling the broadcasting rights and sponsorships. What the hell does that even mean? Were they going to turn this Mars One this situation into a reality TV show where they were going to put up security cameras and just CCTV cameras all over the compound, all over the station, and we were going to be able to see what life was like living on Mars and whether or not the struggles and hardships were going to impact the people in a way that would turn it into a grand ratings boost. I mean, that's a question, right? And that's actually something that I could see someone on like Fox doing. Oh, we need a new reality TV show. What are we going to do, guys? You want to send people to Mars? I mean, we could invest the money and make it all back, you know? That's kind of what I think what they were going to do. And then sponsorships. I mean, yeah, you know, welcome to Mars, brought to you by Sprite. It seems kind of weird, right? It seems a little bit on the weird side, but that, of course, is what they were tending to do back then. Nowadays, you know, honestly, you've got Elon Musk talking a little bit about Mars colonization, nothing too serious, hinting at it here and there. And it's probably not even going to be anything that even gets realistically discussed for the next 15 to 20 years. You know, like what I'm more interested now is in low Earth orbit. I want to see what's going to happen with that. The concept of being able to fly from, let's say, Seattle to Tokyo in 2 hours is one of the theories that I've heard. And that to me sounds pretty freaking cool. Going up to the upper atmosphere, coasting along the curvature of the Earth and coming back down. That's the future of travel, but that's going to be a lot of damn money. A lot of damn money. And I don't make enough money here on YouTube to do that. But if you guys want to help me get to that point, you can always become a channel member and help support the Get Matt to Space program. There we go. That's going to be that's squad goals for 2019. Speaking of space that people aren't really eager to get back to, if the last game was any kind of inclination of that, Mass Effect apparently is not dead. According to Bioware, saying here that Bioware still wants to make more Mass Effect games, even if the studio isn't currently working on any. Of course they're not working on any. Mass Effect 3, which came out nearly 6 years ago. No, 7 years ago. It came out in 2012. So 7 years ago, Mass Effect 3 drops. Mass Effect 3 completely lost the fan base in regards to how it handled the ending, right? Do you want the red, the green, or the blue ending? Do you want the RGB? By the way, all the choices that you've been making all these years, they mean nothing. They mean nothing. That's basically what it boiled down to. And a lot of people out there really didn't care for it. And so they came back and they made another ending. They came back and they made another little thing. They made a thing. Cool beans. They gave us some DLC. Reluctantly gave DLC. But then they put the franchise in hibernation until 2015. 3 years later, when we got the first teaser during E3 for Mass Effect Andromeda. And no one really gave a shit. No one really cared. It was like, oh, they're trying this again. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, all right. It's not BioWare. Oh, it's like EA Montreal or something. Oh, okay. So it's not even like a main studio game. They're working on Anthem. Ooh, no one cared. And that happened when the game came out. It was panned left and right. The game was a rushed mess. I mean, I've seen it on sale for $9, and I'm just like, no. Still too much money. Still not going to pay for it. Still not going to do it. Not going to be. I'm waiting for PlayStation Plus to make it a giveaway. So then it's free and I can download it and I can play it then. That's what I'll do. When they make it a free to play game, get it with your PlayStation Plus. Fine. I will finally dive into the world of Andromeda when it's absolutely positively free or included with my yearly subscription to the PlayStation Network service. However, apparently Polygon asked the questions to Mike Dura, the game's executive producer. This, of course, is, I think, Andromeda, as well as a studio head of Casey Hudson about Mass Effect franchise, and asking specifically the question, will there be more Mass Effect down the road? Will we see it return? Will Shepard be glorious once again? And this is what he had to say. He says, we're definitely not done with Mass Effect. There's a lot of stories to be told. We could pull on the threads we put down with Andromeda. We could pull on the threads from Mass Effect 3. There's a lot of interesting space to be explored. Is there? Do you really want to pull on the threads from Andromeda? I mean, you couldn't even make a competent game. You guys were criticized for dead naming a trans person in that game. Like, literally. And the dialogue was pretty atrocious, true, because, like, the trans person said what their I don't know the terminology for it. What their real name is? What their birth name? I don't know. What do you guys call it? It's not their Christian name, obviously. But they said it in like the first three lines of dialogue. Like, hi, I'm transgender. My original name was Nyah. And they got really heavily criticized for that. Never mind the potato expressions and everything else that happened with my game. But Casey Hudson here says, in my mind, it's still very much alive. I'm thinking all the time about things I think will be great. It's just a matter of getting back to it as soon as we can. Listen, Casey, Booby, Baby, Homie, G-Funk era. You're not going back to it. Don't even trip. Don't even try. Don't even try. You bungled it 7 years ago. EA completely over-promoted it 7 years ago. I don't know if you guys recall literally sending copies of Mass Effect into, like, space and then having them parachute down and people could go and find a copy of it early. There was one that was like, it literally landed in the Mojave Desert and some dude drove from LA, tracked it down and got it. They launched copies of the game into the upper atmosphere as a marketing stunt, because they thought it would be so big. They didn't expect the backlash. And it held on for years. The Mass Effect brand at this point, pretty tainted. It's pretty tainted. And now they're on to they're on to Anthem. Right? They got this, ever persistent multiplayer world. Everyone flies in Iron Man suits, taking on creatures. Looks like a weird mix between a Marvel movie and Lost Planet from Capcom, which, by the way, I think would be cool to see. That's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing. And people, even Anthem was kind of broken. Sure, $20 for a fucking skin. What's wrong with you? $20 for a skin. What are you doing? What are you doing? BioWare, stop it. Stop it. They very much want to, I think they want to go back to, I think they do ultimately want to make it right. I mean, later on, it was put out there on Twitter that Andromeda isn't the start of a trilogy. But that doesn't mean that they haven't been planning anything for future adventures, just not 3 acts. So Andromeda could come back, not Andromeda, but like Mass Effect could come back in single standalone adventures, which, look, arguably could work. And it's not like it's not like they bit off more than they can chew with the Mass Effect trilogy. Because number 1 and number 2 were fantastic. I mean, on a technical level, number 3 was great. It was the ending that was god awful. And a lot of people chalked it up to that whole, oh, you just didn't get what you wanted. You just didn't get what you needed. You didn't get it. Calm your tits. Look, when they lift actual, like, artwork from, like, the internet, and when, like, they stole a model's photo for Tally's, character, what she looks like without her helmet on, and they only break it down to the red, the blue, and the green ending. It wasn't like your choices didn't really mean crap in the end of that. And that was the big problem. That was the big issue here, that your story didn't mean crap. So they got mad at you. And I guess BioWare is just, EA is just running them into the ground at this point, We know that they're working on Dragon Age 4, which, yay, I guess. I don't know. Dragon Age 3 wasn't very good. Star Wars The Old Republic is still around. That's still kicking. That MMORPG that was meant to revolutionize the MMORPG world. That was meant to come out, destroy World of Warcraft to EverQuest, Asheron's Call, other games that are similar to that. I don't know. I don't play those games. And it didn't. It didn't. No one talks about The Old Republic anymore, outside of saying, hey, Lucasfilm, we want to see a movie of The Old Republic. That's it. That's where we are right now. So coming out and saying that they want to have more Mass Effect, I guess is fine, but you know, why not? Here's the thing. Make a movie, do the Mass Effect movie, make that good, rebuild interest that way, and then come out and do it. And then come out and make a game. But remove all microtransactions. Don't put in a multiplayer, although the multiplayer was good. Focus on the story first. Make sure your dialogue is good. Make sure the character interactions are good, and you'll be able to get a lot of the fans back. But until then, don't tease them with something like this, because they're not going to want it. Because you've done nothing to showcase that you even remotely care about the Follies from 7 years ago. Oh my God. Speaking of Follies, this is a hell of a story. Now, I think we all can agree that Saudi Arabia sucks, right? Saudi Arabia absolutely 100% sucks if you're a woman. You could sit there and go, but Matt, they just got the ability to drive. Congratulations. You just got the ability to drive. How very 2018 of you. But now there's this app. And this app is kind of crazy. It's freaky, in my opinion. It's a woman tracking app that has critics coming for Google and for Apple. Tech giants host a Saudi government-created app that allows male guardians to remotely control women's movements. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Matt, come on. Obviously, in Saudi Arabia, it's their property. And in that country, it does feel that way. I mean, there was just a law passed, last year, where if a man wants to divorce a woman, he now has to legally tell her. Like, he has to legally tell her. Yeah, he has to actually legally inform her that they're now divorced via text message. I'm not even kidding you. Like, that was a law that just passed. Like, the guy's got to send a text. Like, I've got to break up with Fatima. Hold on, give me a second. What's the emoji for divorce? You know, like, that's what it is. Like, that's the law. It's so weird over there. But this particular app, under their guardianship system, which is totally draconian, every woman in the country is required to have a male guardian, right? That's a big thing. And they do get to have a very, very large array of decisions in the woman's life. Now, I know some dudes out there who live here in the States like, that sounds awesome. Not really. You know, not really. It doesn't sound awesome to me. It doesn't. It sounds pretty stupid. It's like, but that's the culture over there. You know, that's culture that feminists ignore, right? Women that are literally being controlled by their husbands, by a very patriarchal government. But no. Katy Perry said the wrong thing on Twitter. That's way more important than an entire country of subjugated women. I'm just saying. Now, this particular app is called Absher, and it makes it easier for men to track women. And you can get it through Google and Apple. You can get it through Google Play or iOS. You can literally track your wife and probably your children through the app, which we all know is kind of coming in that regard. We all know that that's going to be a thing. That's going to be a reality. That's going to be something that happens in the future. Right? You know, people are going to radio chip their children and be able to track them with an app. Black Mirror had an episode about that. I think it was called, no, that wasn't Crocodile. That was something else. But anyway, it's still the same thing. Being able to track someone down via an application on your phone, just like, find my iPhone for my child, or in this case, his wife. Now, the app also allows users to access certain run-of-the-mill government services, like renewing a driver's license, which is creepy, But although in this case, and this is what the article says, what alarms human rights activists, though, is how men can use it to specify when and where they want women to travel, rescinding permissions with just a few taps. They can also start receiving text messages when their wife or daughter swipes a passport, which has been something that's come under fire recently. There's been a couple stories of women who have fled Saudi Arabia, traveled over to Kuwait in order to get away from the guardianship laws, in order to then board a flight to get the hell out of there, but then are stopped when the flight then lands in like the Philippines or something like that, where it's where they can, the Saudi government, when they catch wind of this, can call it in and have the person stopped. And there was a case recently where a woman was stopped, but she was granted asylum in Australia. And so they got that sorted away, which is pretty cool. But this is creepy, where the husband can go, I don't want you going to that place, and they block you from going there. I don't know which places necessarily you have to scan your ID to get into. I don't know how that works in Saudi Arabia. Do you like, can you block them from going to the mall? Because that would be funny here in the States, by the way. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. You're not allowed to shop at Forever 21. I've put a lock on this app. Our card no longer works there. I think if an app like this came here to the States, retail would close. It would close. But here's the thing, though, is a lot of human rights watch organizations, like both Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, are calling for the app's removal, which I do agree with. I think that there's fundamental human rights violations that happen in Saudi Arabia, not just with their treatment of women, but their treatment of the LGBT community, and how that hey, if you're gay, they'll throw you off rooftops. That's a thing. That's a reality that people there have to live with. But again, Katy Perry said something horrible on Twitter. Feminist Twitter has to come down on them. Where the real problems lie. But this is what they are saying in regards to this. The use of the Absher app to curtail movement of women once again highlights the disturbing system of discrimination against women under the guardianship system and need for genuine human rights reforms in the country rather than this social or economic reform. I agree. Now, the U.S. Senator from Oregon, Ron Wyden, called on Apple CEO Tim Cook and Google CEO Sundar Pichai to immediately remove the app from the services, saying here, it's hardly news that the Saudi monarchy seeks to restrict and repress Saudi women, but American companies should not enable or facilitate the Saudi's government patriarchy. Which, he's got a point. He does, he's got a point. But will they listen? Will they listen? I don't know, man. I don't know. Remember, Tim Cook booted InfoWars off there, saying that it was basically like their right, to do so. That it was like something they had to do. It was their duty to get rid of Alex Jones. But here's an app that is literally restricting a woman's movements inside a country, tracking her, so you know where she's at. You can deny the passport with a couple taps on a phone, and if they let that slide, man, you know where there's money coming in from then. If they let that slide, like they're getting they get a lot of money out of those countries. But then again, there will be an argument to be made for it's their country, it's their place. Who are we to say anything? And there are people that make those arguments too. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I will agree. But you know what? I'm going to go bleeding heart liberal here for a minute and say, fuck it, man. No, they should totally remove the app. It's totally stupid. It's kind of funny in theory, but in practice, it's pretty frightening. Because imagine if that kind of thing took over here and the government had control over where we could go and what we could do. And it could, through just a couple taps, completely restrict our existence to whatever it wanted. We would all be out there screaming, Orwell, 1984, Orwell. But when it happens in Saudi Arabia and it's not here in America or the Western world, you're not going to get a lot of people that are going to be upset about that. And I think that's wrong. I think, giving women the right to drive, good thing. But blocking their ability to flee the country because of guardianship laws is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. So, keeping with the ridiculous theme, being a YouTuber is a job that oftentimes comes with its own amount of shenanigans. In one way or another, people are always looking to make a splash on this particular platform. They're trying to find a way to do well, to figure life out. And that's kind of what happened with here. This guy maybe went a little bit too far. Maybe he went a little bit too far. A YouTuber by the name of Ali Law has been charged with stealing a cup of tea. Now, this is coming from the BBC, and he was in Britain when this happened, and obviously, that's a capital offense in that country. You steal tea, you, sir, will have the Garibaldi dunked on you. Or, you've tea kettled up, sir. But no, this is a very weird story about this guy who is 21, and he's got a lot of subs. He's got 2.4 million subscribers. And what he predominantly does is he does these parkour videos. He does these urban exploration videos. He does a lot of these trespassing videos, a lot of overnight challenges. He'll break into places, stay overnight, break out, sneak out undetected, put it on YouTube, committing crimes for 2.4 million people to see. And YouTube doesn't care that he's committing crimes, making videos about it, putting it up on YouTube, making lots of money. But if you mock Elliot Rodgers, you get banned from the platform completely. We live in a very weird, backwards world from time to time. But this is the thing. He was at Gatwick Airport the other day, and he says that as he was getting ready to board a flight, 20 plus police officers charged him, arrested him, and took him in because he stole a cup of tea from the, allegedly, by the way, Snow Zone escape in Milton Keynes, where he was doing an overnight challenge. So he took a cup of tea that would have been what? Like 50 cents? $1? And they got him. 20 plus police officers got him. Now, the Thames Valley Police said that the 21-year-old stole a hot beverage of unknown value in 2017. So it took over a year. They know who this guy is. They know who he is. And he took a hot beverage of unknown value almost 2 years ago. 20 cops busted him before he got on a flight because he was charged with a non-dwelling burglary, which is a very British way of saying he stole a cup of tea. Now, he says here, it turned out they were police from Milton Keynes. They drove 3 hours to arrest me and 3 hours back. So basically what happened is the 20 cops that got him came from wherever the Snow Zone escape place is. They went out there. They traveled to the airport. 3 hours got there, waited for him, snapped him up, and then drove 3 hours back to bust him. All for a hot beverage of unknown value. But according to the police, they said only 2 officers went to the airport and transferred him back. So maybe he's making it up for effect. Maybe he's making it up for effect. He says 20. They say 2. I don't know. I don't know. But what he goes on to say here is that he was chucked in a cell for 24 hours, interviewed about apparently making a cup of tea on an overnight challenge, where he was taken into court, where the case got adjourned for 2 more weeks. And then he goes on to criticize the taxpayers, or the police for wasting taxpayers' money by saying it's good to see this is where our taxpayers' money is going. It's funny because if your house or car gets robbed, the police don't seem to have enough resources to deal with it. And he goes on to say here that the police must have spent thousands of dollars to take him to court for a cup of tea. He goes on to say, I wish I could say this was a joke. I don't even drink tea. Well, there's a little bit more to the story that the BBC isn't really talking about here. Remember a couple weeks ago when there was when Gatwick Airport was shut down because of the drones, and they couldn't figure out who did it, and they still weren't able to figure out who did it? Well, Ali Law here was apparently running his mouth to some people, saying that he was the one who was behind it, saying he was the person who was flying the drones near the airport, that he was that particular prankster. And that could be the reason. That could very much be the reason as to why he found himself in this particular situation. Because this is a guy who says, hey man, Like, I caused this shutdown, this scare, and they're maybe looking for a reason to bust him. Now, bringing him on suspicion alone, maybe not enough. Maybe they wanted to get him with something else. So they needed to look through his videos and determine something that they could actually get him with. So why not charge him, hold him for 24 hours over a hot beverage of unknown value? That's what it seems like it's more to me, that they questioned him for 24 hours about the situation. They questioned him multiple times about the situation, and I'm pretty sure they questioned him about the drones, even though it wouldn't technically be in the jurisdiction of the Milton Keyes police. Or is it constables? I'm not too sure what you Brits say. But it's interesting to see, like, you know, it's possible that that was a connection. And they were just looking for something. Maybe tried to scare him into admitting it. Maybe try to scare him into screwing up. Because oftentimes people make mistakes when they talk to the cops. They make mistakes. They say the wrong thing. The cops intimidate them. Yada, 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 yada. It becomes a problem. It's a big problem. People don't realize this, but it's a big problem. So I'll have to wait and see what happens with this one. But maybe now Ali Law will stick to just breaking into places and not necessarily running his mouth. and speaking of running one's mouth, that could actually have some serious damage. Finally today, we're going to be talking about Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, the press tour, and the fact that according to Miss Larson, it is overwhelmingly white and male. Dun, dun, dun. That's a big one right now, right? Seriously, she says this here. Brie Larson isn't letting her Captain Marvel press tour be overwhelmingly white and male. The Oscar-winning actress is taking an active role in ensuring her blockbuster press tour remains inclusive. I'd like to argue that Hollywood is very much a meritocracy, that your work, that your value is predicated on the fact that you can perform and do the job, and everything else should come in that particular way. Now, that's not always true. There's a lot of nepotism, a lot of cronyism, a lot of casting couch situations, sex for favors, that kind of stuff. It happens. It's a very broken system that attracts a lot of broken people. But when the people try to, I think, make it more broken as they go into it, it boggles my mind. Now, on the press tour for Captain Marvel, Brie Larson is absolutely committed to making it as inclusive as possible, and I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with trying to bring in people from different backgrounds and different races, different religions, to talk about a movie, because people are going to interpret it differently, and that's great. That's why we have reviews, to get different takes on the particular subject matter, to give audiences as wide a swath of opinions to pick and choose from, to make, hopefully, an informed decision about whether or not to see something. Now, I tend to operate on the idea that you should go see it and then make up your mind, but that's just me. So the story here is that for a recent interview with Marie Claire, Brie Larson handpicked handicapped Kia Brown to be her interviewer for the Marie Claire magazine. Brown called the designation the biggest opportunity she's had in her career and noted that nobody usually wants to take the chance on a disabled journalist. Well, okay, I haven't heard that. I have friends who do press junkets all the time who are actually kind of upset at this, because they're like, well, it doesn't really feel like they're being chosen as well. They oftentimes, it's a website run by Hispanic men, by Hispanic culture, I guess. I'm not even sure how to fully define it. People who run it are of Hispanic descent. So representation comes in quite a bit, and sometimes they get contacted because of representation. But they're not being contacted here to talk to Captain Marvel, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Now, Larson's hoping to heighten inclusive voices by becoming more active in determining her press opportunities. So while she's not, now they're not saying that she's outright denying people, because they wouldn't actually say that. It almost comes across like they're highly suggesting it, that they're putting that out there, that this is a suggestion that it's not going to be real. Now, this is what Brie Larson here says. She says, about a year ago, I started paying attention to what my press days looked like in the critics reviewing movies, and I noticed it appeared to be overwhelmingly white male. So I spoke to Dr. Stacy Smith at USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, and we put together a study to confirm that. Moving forward, I decided to make sure my press days were more inclusive. After speaking with you, the film critic Valerie Complex, and a few other women of color, it sounded like across the board that they weren't getting the same opportunities as others. When I tried to talk to facilities that weren't providing it, they all had different excuses, which, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be based on the project, right? I would argue that when it comes to something like Captain Marvel, a lot of the press junkets you're going to see are going to come from higher publications, more traffic publications, and maybe smaller, more inclusive or diversity-based publications simply don't have the traffic to warrant that kind of attention. That's true. I mean, I run $3 Theater. It's about 25,000 subscribers, but I don't really get anything offered to me at that size. If I had 100,000, it'd be a different fucking story. But right now it doesn't. So you really can't sit there and argue that. So I have nothing against her trying to bring more people into the fight. More people into the fray for asking the questions and getting their outlets more publication. But when it's choosing someone based upon the color of their skin or their gender for a specific job, that does kind of come across as racist and sexist, doesn't it? It does kind of come across as not allowing the person's work to speak for themselves and them being chosen strictly because of, well, the color of their skin and the genitals dangling between their legs. And when she says that, oh, well, all these critics are overwhelmingly white and men, doesn't that come across, again, she's just kind of flipping the script on this one. So this could have, this could blow up in certain ways. This could blow up any particular way. I'm not too sure yet. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with this one. But a lot of people out there aren't happy with it. A lot of people out there are looking at her comments about A Wrinkle in Time and this as being a negative. And if you don't recall, in The Wrinkle in Time, she basically said that she doesn't care what white men reviewers have to say about a movie that was apparently made by a woman of color. Well, not apparently made. It was apparent. It wasn't made by a woman of color, Ava DuVernay. The movie tanked. The critical reviews across the board were bad. The fan reviews across the board were bad. It was a movie that had a lot to do with Christian themes and theology, and it ignored all those things. So a lot of people just didn't really care for it because the source material wasn't respected. Not that the critics were white and male, but that's what she went with. So that's the problem with Brie Larson, is she opened up her mouth a few months ago about that one, and that caused a lot of criticism. And here on this press junket for Captain Marvel, it's looking like she's once again attacking white men. And I believe that when it comes to comic book movies, while there is a very diverse group of people that go see it, a lot of your mainstays, a lot of your people who hang around, a lot of people who keep coming back for more, are predominantly your white men. But then again, to be fair, the studies have shown over the course of 2017 and 2018 that movies that are led by women or women of color have actually performed better in the long run. But I don't know how true that is, because the examples they used was that movie Widows. That didn't really do well at all. So we'll have to see what's going to happen with this one. But it's possible that Brie Larson's own comments could directly impact the box office of Captain Marvel. And I know she wants to use her time in the spotlight to try to amplify and prop up others, and I don't have a problem with that. But pick them because you want to pick them because they're good. And they're not being represented because they're good, and they're not getting the opportunity because other people, for whatever reason. Base it on meritocracy, not the color of their skin or their gender. Because when you do that and you criticize the other, that makes you no better. It makes you the same as what you criticize. You're just in a position of power to implement it. That ain't equality. That ain't inclusiveness. Pick somebody because they're good, not because of what they say that they are. Anyway, I think that kind of wraps up today's show. Kind of wraps up the podcast. Got your 5 stories. Curious to know your thoughts, your opinions, your hopes, your dreams. Let me know what you guys have to say in the comments below. I do appreciate you guys sticking through 45 minutes of this. Remember, you can always contact us at strangerdays podcast@gmail.com. You can post in your questions, and I'll be answering those at the end. And I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.